here at the beginning so that you will know what's going on. The basic stuff you need to know before that first whistle is that tonight's games are played in 2 30-minute periods, each of those periods divided into multiple up to 2-minute jams. Right now, Midge Mayhem with the star for the Orange Crushers. She's skating against the Swiss Missile. No points scored on that first pass through the pack, but Midge Mayhem has become lead jammer. What that means is that she is in control of that clock and can end the jam at any time by touching her hips. The Swiss Missile out completing her first pass, and she is ready to score as well. Midge Mayhem having trouble with that complement of 4 blockers from the Green Barrettes, calls off the jam, but not before Swiss Missile picks up 2 points. 2 points also to the Crushers, tie game after that first jam.
So those 2 points apiece means that the jammers, which are the skaters with the star on their helmets, passed 2 of their opponents in the pack on their second trip through. Number 36, Camilla Blitzvilla, jamming now for the Green Barrettes against number 930, Chris Cross for the Orange Crushers.
Both jammers having to contend with 4 blockers from each team, which we call the pack. This first pass through the pack is a race between those 2 jammers, and Camilla is up at the top of the pack, and she fights free from Whiz Bang Weasley, lead jammer, Green Barrettes.
Chris Cross also breaks out of the pack and is clear to score. Lead jammer was assigned as soon as Camilla's hips passed Whiz Bang Weasley's at the front of the pack. That is how a pass is judged in this game, is by the hips. So just 1 point to the Green Barrettes on that jam, but none to the Orange Crushers as Camilla Blitzvilla calls it off and takes the score to 3-2, advantage Green Barrettes.
You can see that lead jammer status really works for a game strategy as you have control over that jam clock. On the line now we've got Ajax. She's skating against Willy Nilly for the ladies in red. Orange. I will learn my rainbow at halftime.
Willie wearing number 4038 and Ajax wearing number 409. That first whistle starts the jam. When you hear 4 whistle blasts, that is the end of the jam. Then there's 30 seconds for the skaters to reset on the track. That whistle is for a penalty. In this case, a back blocking penalty. You're not allowed to block to your opponent's back. So Ajax has to sit down for 30 seconds. That gives Willie the chance to get out and earn lead jammer, as well as the chance to score unopposed on the track. We call that a power jam.
Willy Nilly taking a fall to the infield. Got a little 1-2 punch. But she will head out to the penalty box. Sorry.
It's Annie Virus that's heading to the penalty box.
That's right. Willy Nilly gets through, picks up 5 points. She picks up 1 point for every opposing team's blocker that she passes. That 5th point is for lapping the other team's jammer. Speaking of the other team's jammer, this power jam is over with Ajax back in, but Willy Nilly puts up another 5. Ajax still has to make her first pass through the pack to be able to score.
So this is a chance for the Crushers to blow open the score a little bit. Another 5-point pass, since that's the most you can get on a single pass. We sometimes call that a grand slam.
On occasion. De temps en temps. Ajax with 1 left to beat, and she's ready to score. Willy Nilly already in the pack, contending with that Green Barrettes defense. She gets past Outlaw, though. Picks up 4 points. Calls off the jam. That was a 19-point jam for Willy Nilly.
So that huge jam opening the score to 21 for the Orange Crushers, 3 still for the Green Barrettes after 3 jams in the game. Midge Mayhem and Hi-Yo coming back to the line for the Crushers against the Swiss Missile.
Brad, those penalties do last. They carry over jam to jam and period to period, that 30-second penalty.
Indeed they do.
If it does so happen to be that way, of course.
What you don't want is to accumulate 7 of those penalties, because if you do, you have fouled out of the game.
Swiss Missile against Nora Prenefrin at the top of the pack, but she's through. Lead jammer, Green Barrettes.
Green Barrettes blockers able to contain Midge Mayhem at the back of the pack. Not an easy task. Both of these jammers are members of the Denver Roller Dolls All-Star team. Midge is out of the pack, clear to score for the Crushers.
Swiss Missile finds on the inside, picks up 4 points, leaving the Crushers scoreless in that jam. Score now with 25 minutes left in the first half. Crushers 21, Barrettes 7.
So still a little ways to make up for the Barrettes, 14-point gap. We saw earlier there was a 19-point jam. Those are not too common, but they can occur. Ajax back to the jammer line for the Barrettes. Crisscross, number 930 for the Orange Crushers.
The pack lies in wait for both jammers. Crisscross looking for it against Shank, but can't find her way around. Ajax at the back of the pack, but she's got a... Oh, wait, nope. Sorry. The Crushers will lose number 711, Disco, to the penalty box on a low block penalty. Is Crisscross out? Lead jammer and hot on her heels is Ajax.
You'll sometimes note that a skater who gets pushed out of bounds goes the opposite direction, goes clockwise to re-enter the track. If you do not do that, you can be penalized if you advance your position while you're out of bounds. So Chris calls off the jam as both jammers get into the pack. No points were scored because no hips passed other hips. We remain at 7 points for the Barrettes, 21 for the Orange Crushers. Camilla Bloodspilla jamming against willy-nilly.
If you need some pointers from me and Brad Example, tweet your questions to us here at the table. At Brad_example is where you will send that tweet. First whistle means the jam is in play. And making fast work of the pack is willy-nilly, but Camilla Bloodspilla putting on the pressure. Pack speeding up. Camilla now out in front. I think those Crushers are hoping to suck someone back into the pack, or maybe the Barrettes. Not sure.
Willie thinks that is just about enough of that and calls off the jam with no points scored. We'll go into the next jam with a second scoreless jam in a row, keeping the score at 7-21. The Swiss Missile once again squaring off against Midge Mayhem. We have our merchandise booth open there in the south wall. All kinds of cool stuff for you to buy.
Yes, if those bleachers are getting a little hard to sit on, we have bleacher tuchus pads for you for sale over there.
That is the technical term for them.
Yes, tuchus pads. You say, I would like a tuchus pad. Number 52 Antivirus heads out to the box for a 30-second sit. Midge Mayhem, hi-yo, lead jammer. Swiss Missile breaks free as norepinephrine heads to the penalty box.
Lethal Llama also taking a sit-up. We have a rash of penalties here, reducing the pack to 3 skaters for the Barrettes and only 2 for the Crushers at the moment.
Green Barrettes right now speeding up the pace of the pack, but Midge Mayhem in the fray. Swiss Missile getting knocked to the infield, has to reset at the back of the pack as Mayhem gets through. 4 points.
However, the Swiss Missile has completed her own scoring pass, collecting 4 points as well.
Looks like that rash has been killed with a little bit of Benadryl, Brad. We've got a 4-on-4 in the pack. 5-on-5 total on the track as Midge Mayhem finishes another 4-point pass. Calls off the jam. 8-4 in that last jam.
Yes, the Crushers pack were able to hold the Swiss Missile with no points scored. So we're at 11-29 now on the scoreboard. 18-point lead for the Orange Crushers, who give their jammer star to Chris Cross. Her opponent on the line, number 409, Ajax.
Chris breaks free. Lead jammer Crushers. As Ajax comes through clean as well, she's ready to score, but Crisscross gets knocked to the infield, calls off the jam. 4 points for her, though. Wait, Brad, but wasn't she knocked to the infield towards the back of the pack? How are points determined?
Points are determined when you pass your opponents by the hips, but if you pass your first opponent, you also get credit for any of your opponents who are in the penalty box at that moment. Also, if you do get recycled, you do not lose the points you've already accumulated. Willy-nilly jamming against Camilla Bloodspilla. So far, both teams sticking to a 3-jammer rotation.
Willy-nilly breaking free from the pack as Camilla Bloodspilla gets knocked to the infield. She's going so fast, the momentum carries her onto the track in front of the person who hit her out, and she will head to the penalty box for cutting the track.
Technically speaking, her position improved while she was out of bounds, and therefore that is a track-cutting penalty, giving Willie the chance to pick up a grand slam there and increase the Crushers' lead.
Right now, the Crushers playing a little chess out there, hoping to spread out the pack. Willie, though, makes it free. 5 more points.
These power jams before this year actually lasted 60 seconds rather than 30, and they had a more profound effect on the game. Most people agree that it's pretty much an improvement to have the 30-second penalties. 3 final points for the Orange Crushers. The jam is called off. The score is 46-11 with 18.5 minutes to go in our first period of play. Looks like a team timeout was called by the Green Barrettes. Each team has 3 timeouts that they can call. They stop the clock for 60 seconds. They can only be called between jams.
Jake's is a family-friendly restaurant and bar with a dog-friendly outdoor patio serving great food and crafted cocktails. Located just 1.5 miles north of Coors Field in the Whittier, Cole, Rhino, and 5 Points area. A local favorite and hangout of DRD skaters and fans. Stop in today and check them out for yourself.
Yes, Jake's is right in the neighborhood. They're good friends of ours. Just go up to 38th, hang a right, under the railroad tracks. There they are.
Here, I'll give you a quick tip, folks, because it's Saturday night. Sunday morning brunch at Jake's. Bloody Mary bar. Yes. Just nod with me and say yes. Sunday mornings on the patio. Yes.
If you're interested in becoming one of our sponsors and hearing us read your name during the course of games, email sponsorship@denverrollerdolls.org. That is the end of the 60-second timeout. Midge Mayhem poised to be jamming for the Orange Crushers. And taking the star for the Green Barrettes, we've got Ajax.
Hey, new Crushers fans. You know Midge Mayhem's number is hi-yo. You can yell that if you're cheering her on. That works really well. You also sound like you watch The Family Guy a little too much, too. But mostly you're a fan of Midge Mayhem, who's now lead jammer, Orange Crushers. Ajax pushing at the top of the pack, but the pack has to let her go as she is more than 20 feet out in front of the pack, or engagement zone, and she is now ready to score points. Midge gets through the pack, calls off the jam, but Ajax steals 1 point under her nose. 4 for Midge, and that's the end of the jam.
So 50-12 on the scoreboard. And the lead is reflected, or I should say probably caused, by the fact that the Orange Crushers have earned 70% of the lead jammer calls so far in the game.
Crisscross on the line against the Swiss Missile, number 719 for the Green Barrettes. Crisscross trying to make a break for it, but the Swiss Missile shoots out of the pack. Lead jammer, Green Barrettes. Swissel breaks a 6 lead jammer streak by the Orange Crushers. Hopefully, this is some momentum to build upon for the Barrettes. Crisscross out and ready to score. Swissel tangling with KY at the top of the pack, number 222. She gets 4 points and calls off the jam.
16-50 on the scoreboard with just over 16 and a half minutes to go in our first period of play. We'll have a 10-minute halftime and then 30 more minutes of play. Thanks to A1 Boxing Gym located at 700 South Buckley Road in Aurora, Colorado. That's where champions are made. Camilla Bloodspilla jamming against willy-nilly.
Don't forget, folks, as we get a little more complicated, if you get lost, text us at Brad_example with your questions or even witty comments if you like. Remember, no points scored on this. This first pass through the pack. Camilla Bloodspilla contending with that wall of orange. Defense buys willy-nilly. Time to become lead jammer for the Orange Crushers. Camilla out, though, and ready to score.
Willie calls it from the infield. Or no, is it? It did get called off. No points were.
So I'm not sure if the crowd saw it from here, but I saw it. It was like Enyo Face was actually thrown by one of the other blockers into willy-nilly, who then eventually picked up the back block on her. Is that legal, Brad Example? To push someone into someone else when you're a blocker?
You may have any kind of contact with your own players. It is controlled what contact you have with players with the other team. The initiator of a block is responsible for its legality.
Oh, so that's why willy-nilly is in the box for 30 seconds, and it's a power jam for Ajax.
However, Ajax commits a back blocking penalty as well. So we're going to do the jammer hokey pokey here. You put one jammer in, you take the other jammer out, and the second jammer will spend as much time in the penalty box as the first jammer did.
Willy-nilly slams into the pack. A bunch of green barrettes go flying.
Once you have been penalized in a jam, you're ineligible to earn lead jammer. And so Willie does earn lead jammer and has control of the timing of the jam.
Lethal Llama headed the box for a 30-second sit. Willie getting pummeled by Antivirus and Charlie Foxtrot in the pack. Returns some blocking to them, gets free of the pack, and that's 5 points. A grand slam for willy-nilly. Ajax cleared the pack, ready to score points. Norepinephrine heads to the penalty box.
Willie trying to grab a couple more points, but not able to do so. 0-0 on that last pass, 5-0 on the jam, and we have 55-16 on the scoreboard with 13 and a half minutes to go in period number 1.
A good way to tell that a penalty is about ready to get over, you'll notice that the penalized skater will stand 10 seconds before her penalty is over.
Number 719, the Swiss Missile jamming for the Green Barrettes against number Hayo Midge Mayhem for the Orange Crushers. Take a moment to say hello. We actually are broadcasting tonight's event on ColoradoSports.TV. Thank you if you're tuning in at home.
Swiss Missile breaks free from the pack. Lead jammer Green Barrettes. Midge Mayhem still contending with S.H. Long.
Green 7-8 is called for a track cut. That is Supersonic. Supersonic sitting down for 30 seconds. Midge gets out of the pack, earns the right to score 4 points, picked up by the Swiss Missile.
Midge Mayhem hitting that wall of green at the top of the pack. She breaks free. 4 points for the Orange Crushers. And Swissel breaks free. She gets 3 points before calling the jam off.
So total on the jam, 7-4, advantage Green Barrettes. They close the gap by 3 points. It is now 59-23 with 12 minutes to go in period number 1. Camilla Bloodspilla will jam against Crisscross.
Whistle blows and the jam is in play. Crisscross looks for it on the inside, but gets tangled up in a whole lot of green at the top of the pack. Anchored by Claudia Schenker there. Camilla fighting against Whiz Bang Weasley at the top of the pack. She goes free. Lead jammer to the ladies in green. Oh, wait, not lead. Sorry, no pass, no penalty there.
So that is no pass, no penalty. That means that you legally passed one of your opponents while you were out of bounds, meaning that the opponent went out of play. It wasn't a penalty to do that, but you don't get credit for it either, so you don't earn lead and you don't earn a point if you did that. However, when you pass all 5 of your opponents, like Camilla just did, you earn 5 points.
Crisscross may still be eligible for lead jammer, but the Barrettes locking down the pack. Crusher defense at the top of the pack has to let her go at that 20-foot mark. 5 points for Camilla, the hard way, as some people like to call it, with a full complement of blockers fielded right now for the Crushers.
But the bodies hit the floor. People are falling all over the place here in turn number 4 in front of us. And now a track cut penalty is assessed to Camilla Bloodspilla. She has to go sit down for 30 seconds. That time starts when she takes her seat.
Crisscross still looking for it on her initial pass, but Claudia Schenker looking to send her more than just a postcard from California. We've got a track cut being forced on Crisscross.
So that 4 final points had been collected by Camilla before she headed to the penalty box. So that 14 points was the biggest jam of the night so far for the Barrettes, closing the scoring gap to 22. It's 59-37 with 9.5 to go.
Brad, example, we're starting this jam with 2 jammers in the penalty box.
That's quite unusual, miscommunication. However, because the penalties exchange, Camilla immediately comes right back out onto the track to jam.
A whole lot of craziness in the pack as Crisscross, after spending the same amount of time that Camilla Bloodspilla did, comes out. Camilla, not lead jammer. I'm guessing because there was an out-of-play skater. I am not sure, though. But Crisscross picks up the lead jammer status, calls off the jam.
The jam gets called off before Camilla can score. You can score until that 4th whistle blast, so you have to be very careful about when you choose to call off that jam, if you can do so.
You may have noticed our jammers, the skaters with the stars, several times we've had them remove their helmet cover. We haven't had a successful pass yet, but the blockers that have a stripe on their helmet, they're called a pivot, and they can receive that star helmet cover and become jammer, but that has to be done legally and with the pivot cover still on the pivot's head, as is the case in the last jam for that failed star pass. Ajax, lead jammer for the Barrettes. Willy-nilly with the star for the Crushers. Skates free and is ready to score. Ajax makes a break for it at the top of the pack. She goes sliding into the bleachers, calling it off along the way. That's right, folks. Roller derby in 3D.
That is why we tell people that you sit behind those barriers at your own risk, and if you do that, keep your stuff behind you.
Hey, and you don't even need special glasses for the 3D and roller derby. That's pretty awesome.
Number Ohio, Midge Mayhem, returning to the jammer line for the Orange Crushers against number 719, the Swiss Missile. Still, both teams sticking with a 3-jammer rotation.
Swiss Missile out in front, winning that arms race. Midge Mayhem battering against the Green Barrettes defense. Penio Face trying to crowd her out of bounds. but Mayhem free to score points.
719 called for a back block. The Swiss Missile has to sit down, and she loses lead jammer status, which means this jam will go a total of 2 minutes.
Midge Mayhem right now. The only jammer on the track, power jam belonging to the Orange Crushers. It's number 39, In Your Face, giving her some trouble in the pack, but she'll skate free. And that's 5 points. Hi-oh, Midge Mayhem.
Still to the advantage to the Barrettes if they can hang on to the jammer as long as they can. That gave the Swiss Missile time to come out of the penalty box and pick up 4 points.
And your face headed to the penalty box for 30 seconds.
Disco wearing number 711, giving Swiss a hard time on her trip for the pack. Passing by number 11, She Be Dangerous, 4 points for the Green Barrettes.
Midge Mayhem sent all the way to the back by the Terrible Suze, S.H. Long, whichever you prefer to call her.
That's time on that jam, with 5 more points for the Crushers and 2 more for the Green Barrettes. So let's see if my total matches the scoreboard. It does. 69 points for the Orange Crushers, 51 points for the Green Barrettes. Just under 5 minutes to go in our first period of derby.
Cheeseballs Precision Skate Bearings is a proud sponsor of the Mile High Club and Denver Roller Dolls. Check them out at www.cheeseballs.com. That's Cheeseballs with a Z.
Camilla Blitzspilla jamming against Willy Nilly, but Willy is penalized and must sit for 30 seconds. Camilla out first, lead jammer, as the Green Barrettes rally a bit here towards the end of the first period. Still in an 18-point hole against the Crushers, though.
Camilla looks for it against the Crusher defense, but she's trying to break free. And she passes Atomic Fire, 5 points for the Green Barrettes. Some activity from Antivirus looking to block up that wall, break up that wall for Camilla. Finally, though, Whiz Bang Weasley has to let her go. 5 more points for Camilla Bloodspilla. Willy Nilly back in from the pack, or from the box.
But Willy called for a forearm penalty just as the jam ends, with no further points, leaving us with 69-61 on the scoreboard.
8-point game. 8-point game. That is 2 regular scoring passes at full points.
Ajax will be the jammer for the Green Barrettes. We want to welcome everybody who's come out tonight who is a skater from another league. There is a ton of derby in Colorado and a ton in the Denver metro area. And we love it when other skaters come to watch other skaters.
Ajax pushing at the top of the pack. You'll notice the Green Barrettes stalling it out at the back, forcing a line to be made at the top. Ajax, though, lead jammer.
The Crushers there were doing what is called bridging by staying within 10 feet of one another. They extended the defined pack and held on to Ajax for as long as humanly possible. But once you get more than 20 feet away from the rest of the pack, you are not permitted to block if you're a blocker. Now this is a penalty for blocking with the head, akin to a spearing penalty in football. So Ajax has to sit down and is no longer lead jammer. This jam's going 2 minutes. Willy Nilly clear to score.
With a minute left on that jam clock, still plenty of time to score points. Right now, Disco still has that stripe on her helmet. She accidentally dropped the star cover to her helmet, has to make a lap around. And she picks up 5 points.
The first time through without the star on her helmet, she was treated as what's called an inactive jammer. So her moves were legal, but she wasn't earning points. That next time through, she earned points.
Ajax back in the fray, but disco free again. 5 points for the Crushers.
So as time on the jam expired with 1 more point for disco and 4 had been collected by Ajax. So that total of, 11-4 on the jam raised the score gap to 15-point lead for the Crushers, 80-65, with under a minute to go, likely to be the last jam of the first period. The Swiss Missile to jam against Criss Cross.
Pack moving fast and hard around the turn 2, and KY right now helping Atomic Fire, who's the last to beat, and Swiss Missile becomes your lead jammer for the Green Barrettes. Criss Cross still fighting against the Barrettes defense at the top of the pack. They have to let her go too. She's ready to score points. But the Swiss Missile completes a scoring pass, picks up 4 points, and calls off the jam.
So that, during the course of that last jam, the period clock ticked down to 0 seconds. So we are now in halftime with a lead of 80 points for the Orange Crushers, 69 for the Green Barrettes, an 11-point gap, a very, very tenuous lead, but a real one. So let us see what happens in the second period. We got a 10-minute halftime scheduled for you. Great time to check out our food trucks. We got Still Smokin' Fusion Barbecue. We got Wong Wei Veg. We got our snack table in the corner. We got our merchandise table with all kinds of cool stuff. And at the snack table, we have something very special, which is some donated cookies that you can buy for $2 or maybe a little bit more if you're feeling it, that the proceeds go to benefit our friend Rob Lobster in Portland, Oregon, who is fighting an aggressive form of brain cancer. Thank you so much for anything you do to help Rob.
You know, Brad, what you guys are watching tonight is an example of our home teams. We have 5 home teams who duke it out through the season. Right now, the Crushers and the Green Barrettes both undefeated and fighting for that first place ranking in the league tournament, round robin, whatever you would like to call it. Our next game coming up later tonight, that's Shotgun Betties, who are 1-2, will play the Electrocuties, who are 0-2. So we're going to see a little bit of shaking out in the rankings of our 5 teams.
Our next big event right here at the Glitter Dome is going to be the morning of Sunday, June 29th. We are going to host Tampa Roller Derby in a doubleheader between the A teams and the B teams of those two leagues. So their A team will play the Mile High Club, and their B team will play Bruising Altitude.
I also guarantee there will be a lot of flamingos in the house. That is the team spirit animal of Tampa.
All right, then. Ms. Communication and I are going to take a little break. We'll be back with you in a few. Thank you for coming out. A friendly reminder to all of our skaters and officials that you must be wearing full gear anytime that you are on skates. That is a safety requirement. Miscommunication. I just snuck a look at the penalty board. And this has actually been quite a clean bout so far. Only 3 skaters have even 3 penalties, let alone more than that. And a lot of skaters have none whatsoever. It's great.
And what's that number we have to watch out for, Brad Example?
7 penalties, 7 trips to the box, and you're out of there. News from the world of Derby. I have a score here that the Kalamazoo Derby Darlings from Kalamazoo, Michigan, defeated the Ann Arbor Derby Dimes from Ann Arbor, Michigan by a score of 210 to 132. And here is actually a bit of an upset. Ranked number 20 in the WFTDA, the Ohio Roller Girls have defeated the 11th ranked Boston Derby Dames by a score of 223 to 190. Little commentary there, Scott Free.
You have to be careful, Scott Free. Remember what happens to the kid who says, ha ha. To start out this first jam of the second half, we've got Camilla Bloodspilla in green up against Midge Mayhem in orange. And Bloodspilla breaks free. A lead jammer, Barrettes, but Midge Mayhem putting on the pressure.
I received those Derby scores via Twitter. If you want to tweet me on Twitter at Brad_example, I will get it. And if it's a question, I'll consider answering it. And if it's a shout out, I'll consider repeating it. 2-0 on the jam advantage. Green Barrettes, as it's called off, taking the score to 80 to 71. Only 9 points between the two teams.
Willy-nilly with the star against Swiss Missile. They exchange secret comments. on the jam line. Both jammers contending with the other team's defense, and Swiss Missile breaks free. Lead jammer, Green Barrettes.
When the officials declare no pack like that, that means that the pack is not well defined. You have to have all your skaters within 10 feet of one another. And if there's a no pack situation,
for the Crushers. And she picks up 5 points. Crushers stopping the pack to make it easier for Crisscross to catch up. She breaks free. Another 5 for the Orange Crushers.
Antivirus, the last line of defense for the Green Barrettes. Pack stretches out, bridging, but Chris is out for 5 more.
Camilla Bloodspiller back in the fray, ready to score points. Chris getting crowded to the outfield by Shank. Disco looks to clear a path for Chris, but she decides to call it off. An additional 1 point. 16 points for Chris Cross on that last jam.
That takes the Crushers to an even 100 points to the 78 for the Green Barrettes and puts a little daylight between the two teams. 22-point gap now with just under 23 minutes to go. The Swiss Missile coming out to jam against Midge Mayhem.
I'm sure that Chris Cross would say that a 16-point jam would be wiggity, 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 whack.
No doubt.
Swiss Missile out in front, lead jammer. Midge contending with the last line of defense for the Barrettes. The crowd shouts hi-yo as she's ready to score points. Swissel comes up to the top of the pack, calls off the jam just in the nick of time, picks up 4 points.
Makes it 82-100 with 22 minutes to go. Ajax giving willy-nilly a little hug there. Aww.
Aww.
Do check us out on Facebook at facebook.com/Denver Roller Dolls. You'll learn all about what we're up to.
Willy-nilly with a big hit off the line. Catches Ajax off guard long enough for Lethal Llama to contain her. But Antivirus knocking Willy-nilly out of bounds. Willy-nilly will have to start behind her. And Ajax with a clean sweep. Lead jammer, Barrettes. Big hits from Disco in the pack. Ajax gets caught up, calls off the jam with 2 points. Willy-nilly held to 0.
So Ajax content to chip away at the Crushers' lead. It is 84-100 with just under 21 minutes to go. Camilla Bloodspilla coming back out to jam against Chris Cross.
The pack starting up at the top of where they can possibly start on the track at the beginning of the jam line. There is another line on the floor up there. We call it the pivot line. Camilla Bloodspilla, lead jammer, Barrettes.
So far, the largest lead the Crushers have held was about the midpoint of the first period. They had a 39-point lead at that time. Barrettes have been chipping away at it, but they're still in the hole.
Chris Cross decides to forego passing the helmet cover. Breaks free, ready to score, but Camilla picks up 4 points and calls off the jam.
88-100, a 12-point gap. 20 minutes to go. The Swiss Missile and Midge Mayhem.
DRD would like to invite all of our fans to our second annual fundraiser at Howl at the Moon, July 12th at 5 p.m. There will be live dueling piano music, dancing, and a silent auction, including a condo weekend getaway, movie tickets, a professional photography session, and more. Join us at Howl at the Moon, July 12th at 5 p.m.
It's kind of a fun place. It's right near Coors Field. Swissel, lead jammer. Midge again called for blocking with the head. Haven't seen too many of, you don't see too many of those penalties, fortunately.
The Green Barrettes holding lead jammer status the last 4 consecutive jams as Swiss Missile puts 5 points on the board for the ladies in green. Disco anchoring the defense at the top of the pack. Camilla gets nudged toward the line, calls off the jam. Just as Midge Mayhem stands to her feet, meaning there's less than 10 seconds remaining for Ajax in this power start.
Those 10 points takes it to a 2-point game.
Lead.
You're not lead jammer, you can't call it off.
To see KCRW finding a little momentum in this season. Wasatch on a rise to success in the WFTDA. So
they have definitely been building up for a while, ever since their first appearance at the West Regional Tournament a few years ago. That was the one in San Francisco, wasn't it?
Was it? I was not there. You were there.
I think it was the one in San Francisco.
Brad was there. I wasn't. There were a lot of ships, I hear.
Yes, that was the one where literally the ships passing in the harbor would interrupt the wireless signal, and so we'd go offline.
Thanks, guys, for sticking around for our second game. We've got the Shotgun Betties against the Electrocuties.
You're on the wrong side.
Yeah, tight pants is good.
Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to introduce to you the team wearing pink tonight, the Shotgun Betties. Starting off with number 5150, An Assassin, returning to skates after a nasty injury. Number 187, Assault in Progress. Number AF1 is Charlie Foxtrot. Can't seem to keep her off the track tonight. And number 1898, we've got Grace Riot. Number 1618 is Mary Mary, quite contrary. Wearing number 66, we've got Mazel Tov. With number R3D, it's Scarlet. Go smash 'em. Number 314 is Slamsonite. Another repeat offender on the track tonight, number 831's S.H. Long. Coming in at number 212, it's To Infinity and Yvonne.
Yay.
The captains of the Shotgun Betties tonight are number 1911, Razorcat. And number 24, Rockscar. Coaching the Betties are Sancho and Dirt Monkey. Ladies and gentlemen, the 2014 Shotgun Betties.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, let's introduce you to the Electrocuties. Number 28 is Barrett. 2001, Brutalica. Number 0610, Coco Killa. Number C, 53D, D-Day Doll. Number 7954, it's Fatal Blonde. Number 317 is Ginger Splice. Number 107, it's Speeda Vontes. Number 19 is Angela Death. XIX, yes. Wearing number 129, it's Disco. And number 116 is Rampage. Your captains for the 2014 Electrocuties are number 352, Mike. And 86, Hellblazer. The Cuties are coached by Papalot, and wearing that big, gigantic lightning bolt, it's Jimmy Tight Pants. Let's give it up for the Electrocuties. You know what they say about a guy's electric lightning bolt.
I have no idea what they say about a guy's electric lightning bolt.
It's yellow, Brad.
Oh, okay then. I thought maybe this was a Pikachu thing coming along.
Yeah, well, the NSOs think I'm funny, so I guess it works. NSO stands for Non-Skating Officials. Remember, folks, our doll enforcement agency works the entire doubleheader. Thanks to them for being here.
Your first jammers for our second game of the evening in pink. Number 1898, Grace Riot. Squaring off against, in blue, number 86, Hellblazer.
Grace Riot fighting against Mike and Brutalica in the pack. They finally edge her out. She has to restart behind the pack. Blazer knocked to the infield as well.
Strong defense to start off this game.
Brutalica and Mike with a little brace from Disco at the top of the pack, holding Grace Riot in her place.
Over 30 seconds gone, and neither jammer has escaped the pack, thereby earning the right to score. But that has just happened with Hellblazer. But before she can really make a break for it, she's deflected into the outfield and has to return back behind turn 4 here in order to avoid a penalty for cutting the track.
I do believe that baby has been eaten. Nom nom nom.
Grace Riot breaking free of the pack, able to score for the Shotgun Betties. And interesting circumstance here. Hellblazer removed her jammer star, sacrificing her lead jammer status and then earning a penalty on top of it for cutting the track. So this is going to be a 2-minute jam with Grace Riot in a power jam.
Grace Riot staring down Mike, turned around to stare her in the face. Grace looking for it on the inside. The pack halted by the Betties at the back. They're going to have to build a bridge, but Riot gets knocked to the infield. 4 additional points for the Betties. Score now 8-0. Shotgun Betties on top with To Infinity and Yvonne returning to the jammer line. Hi, Tiny.
So that's going to extend the power jam into a second jam.
And Tiny is through. Lead jammer, Shotgun Betties. Blazer out from the box, ready to score points as well. Tiny makes quick work of that Cuties defense. Picks up 4 points. Tiny deciding to keep the clock running. She comes up against Fatal Blonde, gets knocked to the infield, calls off the jam, but 2 points for Blazer. Blazer stealing a little glory there in that jam, Brad.
So the total score after that second jam of the game is 13-2 in favor of the Shotgun Betties. About 26 and a half to go in our first period of Derby. Taking the star for the Cuties, number XIX, Angela Death. Grace Riot back on... No, it's 187. It is Assault and Progress with the star for the Betties. I saw the 18. I did not see the rest of the numbers.
You were too busy reading Roman numerals the wrong way. It gets distracting. AD, though, with the lead jammer status, but Salt hot on her heels. Cuties racing away with the pack. Angela Death still in the fray. 4 points for Salt.
Four for Angela as the jam is called off. That keeps the differential at 11 points, 17-6. 25 and a half to go. Brutalica, number 2001, will jam next for the Cuties. Taking on number 1911, Razor Cat. Wrong cat. Razor Cat.
Sometimes it's very hard to tell cats apart. They just
they say at night all cats are gray.
Razor Cat looking for it against Hellblazer. And she gets to the top of the pack and skates free past Barrett. Lead jammer, Razor Cat. Brutalica fighting against Ann Assassin. She has to let her go at the out of play call. Brutalica ready to score points. Razor picks up 3.
There was a no pass, no penalty on one of the points. But 3 points is enough to take the Shotgun Betties to 20 to the Electrocuties 6. Once again, I'll direct you to our website, denverrollerdolls.org. You can sign up for an email newsletter there. And if you're on Facebook and you like the Denver Roller Dolls, why not like the Denver Roller Dolls on Facebook? Facebook.com/Denver Roller Dolls. Angela Death jamming for the Cuties against Tiny for the Betties.
AD finds it on the inside. Lead jammer. Tiny, though, out putting on the pressure. Angela Death calls off the jam. 2 for her, 1 for Tiny. Man, Brad, Tiny wasn't mainlining old episodes of some Joss Whedon show while she was retired, in quotation marks, was she?
Takes the score to 21-8, 13-point lead for the Shotgun Betties. They give the star back to Grace Riot, who is squaring off against Coco Killa with her first time on the jammer line tonight.
Coco fighting at the top of the pack. She breaks free. Lead jammer Cuties. Grace Riot screams for attention at the top of the pack. Gets free. Ready to score points as well.
Slamsonite, the last line of defense over there, heading into turn number 3. Coco grabs 4 and calls it off, giving us a palindromic score, 12-21. Electrocuties, 9 points behind the Shotgun Betties.
Razor Cat putting on the star against Angela Death. Angela Death with some defense against Razorcat. Razorcat gets knocked to the outfield by Fatal Blonde and jumps back in, but Fatal back at the behind her, so she hits the box for a 30-second sit, and it's a power jam for Angela Death.
However, the Betties blocker is able to hold Angela for a few crucial extra seconds, reducing the amount of time that Angela is on the track unopposed. Barrettes to the penalty box.
Nah, she says nah. AD picks up 5 points.
Power jam over now.
Great penalty kill by the ladies in pink. Only one scoring pass allowed in that 30-second penalty.
Razorcat cleared on her initial pass. Angela calls it with a single additional point. 3 points for the Betties.
Score now 24-18 with 20 minutes left in the first half.
Derbyville is the first brick and mortar store in Colorado specializing in all things roller derby, offering in-person expertise on derby equipment and fashion. Stop by and visit, attend one of their workshops, call or email. Derbyville is honored to be a part of the community. Tiny jamming against Blazer and goes right up the inside line, clear to score and lead jammer, but Blazer has found her way out as well.
Mike taking a spill to the infield, back in again though. Tiny looks for it on the inside. We've got a pile up on turn 4.
Now that wound up being 3-1 advantage shotgun Betties. And so the Betties increase their lead just to 8 points though, 27-19 with 20 minutes left in period number 1. Salt in progress, jamming against Angela Death.
I have a feeling this is going to be really, really entertaining, this game. I'm very excited. Angela Death still trapped at the back of the pack, and on the out-of-play call, assault in progress. Lead jammer. AD out, ready to score.
Salt hits the pack and picks up a low blocking call, which sends her out to the pokey. We're going to go 2 minutes on the jam.
Angela Death crowded the outfield by S.H. Long. AD looks to take a little help from Disco as Shadow, but Disco, she's out of the pack, ready to score. Oh wait, picks up 5 points. And Disco through again. Another 5 points. Salt back in though, picks up 4 of her own.
So since the original lead jammer was penalized, nobody can call off this jam. It goes 120 seconds.
Disco picks up another 5.
That's time on that jam, with 3 more points for the Cuties and 1 more for the Betties.
That was actually, Brad, a really great example of how that helmet cover pass can work in your favor. Disco taking the star, able to pick up 18 points in that last jam.
And that was enough to take the Cuties into the lead by 5 points. It's 37-32 in favor of the blue team who give the star to Mike for the first time tonight. Salt seated in the penalty box. And Mike is lead.
Salt back in from the box. She still needs to complete her first pass, though. Brutalica being sent to the box for an out-of-play block as Salt is ready to score points. Mike calls off the jam. She did pick up 2.
So that inches up the Cuties' lead to 7 points. It's 39-32 with 16 minutes to go in period number 1. Number 107, Speedavantese taking the star for the first time for the Cuties. Grace Riot, number 1898, returning to the jammer line for the Betties.
Grace Riot looking for it at the top of the pack. Speedavantese being crowded to the outfield by Long. Disco, though, with a knockback of her own, forcing the reset against Grace Riot. And Grace breaks free. Lead jammer to the ladies in pink. Strong wall of blue at the top of the pack, and Grace Riot gets knocked to the outfield.
Mazel tov taking a penalty. We'll go sit down for half a minute.
As Disco once again dons the star. Grace Riot calls off the jam.
4 points on the jam. Taking, well, it seems we got 1 point for the, let me see here.
Well,
No. I got it wrong.
I'm gonna pull the crowd here. We're gonna update the crowd here. How many of you guys have Casual Friday at work, where you're allowed to casual it up? Did you know that we have polo shirts for sale? You can sport the DRD logo for Casual Friday at work, or any day if you're allowed to wear that polo shirt at any time. Polo shirts are great on Friday because all you have to do is pop the collar to head to Lodo for your little Friday afternoon fun.
Maybe all you have to do is pop the collar and hit a load out for your Friday. Okay, so we got, we had a brief official time out there. We got 40 points to 36 on the scoreboard. Advantage Electrocuties. 14 minutes, 31 seconds. Tiny and Coco jamming.
Little 1-2 from Blazer and Barrett against Tiny. Got a clockwise block. Oh, not being assessed. Sorry. I thought it was.
Killa out and lead.
Oh, there we go. That must have been my clockwise right there. Rockscar headed to the penalty box. I always get so excited when I know the penalty and wait for the person to exit, but sometimes the skaters don't leave me enough time to make my sentence. Coco looking for it again. Straight through the pack, but she picks up a track cut. That means she'll lose her lead jammer status, and we'll go the remainder of this jam.
Tiny out of the pack, ready to score.
Tiny out, picks up 5 points.
That nominally puts the Betties in the lead on the scoreboard. I'm pretty sure Coco has some points in reserve, though, that were earned but not yet awarded. This, though, is an additional scoring pass, although Tiny grabs 5 points. She came back in bounds legally because it was an out-of-play block that sent her out of bounds. Slamsonite takes a tumble. Back on her skates. 4 points for Coco. And 4 more for Tiny.
14-point jam for Tiny, ladies and gentlemen. Score now going to show 50 Shotgun Betties, 44 Electrocuties. 6-point game. That's fantastic. What else is fantastic is that we still have those Rob Lobster cookies. Suggested donation is $2. Our friend Rob Lobster, as you heard over and over, was recently diagnosed with aggressive form of brain cancer. You can buy some cookies tonight. You can also go online and Google Rob Lobster t-shirt. You can get yourself a Team Rob Lobster t-shirt online. Got a low blocking penalty assessed to S.H. Long, and your lead jammer is Angela Death. Razor thick in the fray right now. Looks for on the inside, up on her toe stop to avoid the cuts. Ready to score points.
4 points for the Cuties on the jam, ticking down to a 2-point game, 48-50. Barrett will jam for the first time tonight for the Electrocuties. Grace Riot back to the line for the Shotgun Betties. The Betties have a couple of recent new selections for our All-Star team. Both Mazel Tov and Razor Cat are now members of the Mile High Club.
Congratulations to them. I get to learn some more names. Barrett out his lead. Grace ready to score points.
Barrett collects all 4. Calls it off. And we got another lead change. It's a 52-50 game. Advantage Electrocuties. This has been the night for close games.
2-point game. Wow.
Angela Death and Razor Cat on the jammer line.
Angela nudged to the outfield by Slamsonite. Buy some time for Razor Cat to become lead jammer.
Angela deflected to the infield. Razor Cat drags her back pretty much all the way to the pivot line, or jammer line. That one there.
That line there. 5 points in the air for Razor, which means we're going to have another lead change, Brad.
Yes, it does.
So many lead changes. Razor Cat being crowded to the outfield by Disco. She calls off the jam, picks up another 2 points. 7 points for the Shotgun Betties, and
a lead change, 57-52, a 5-point lead for the pink team. So 3 jams, 3 lead changes. 9 minutes to go in the first period. Tiny back to jam against Coco.
Tiny contained at the back of the pack. Coco looking for it up.
That. Grace Riot, number 1898, squaring off against number 86, Hellblazer.
Blazer up against Rockscar. Taking a bit of a fall, but she's back on her feet. And Razor out in front, lead jammer. Believe a cut sends S.H. Long to the box. Rockscar setting up a brace. Slamsonite in there to back her up as well. Tiny putting on the star for the Shotgun Betties. She's up against Blazer.
I'm going to have to check my Twitter settings to make sure that all tweets to me come through the texts. But they should. They used to.
See, this is why I don't do the little birdie application.
That's why.
I tried that trendy Polaroids application too. That one was really hard too. I had to quit.
I have had no interest in Instagramming, but my wife does it.
Thank you guys all for coming out tonight. Come to our next event here at the Glitter Dome the morning of Sunday, June 29th, as we host Tampa Roller Derby. It's an A-team, B-team doubleheader. And one of the few times this year I'll be doing Derby on a Sunday. Tiny nudge to the outfield. Fatal Blonde backing it up, forcing her to reset all the way at the back. And Rampage breaks free. A lead jammer, Cuties.
Here's a tweet from one of our very own. 5 points for Rampage as Tiny breaks the pack. One of our very own NSOs tweets that being an NSO is awesome and wants to jam against Salt. So far, the Betties have stuck to a 4-jammer rotation. The Cuties have gone a bit farther afield. 9 different jammers have skated for them.
Salt against Hellblazer at the top of the pack, and she's out ready to score points, but Coco puts up 4.
Coco waits for the magic moment and calls off the jam, extending the Cuties' lead to 10 points, 94-84, as we tick past 23 minutes to go in the game. The Shotgun Betties actually existed as one of the first teams in the league, but then went on hiatus for a while, and we didn't have enough skaters. They came back when the league grew a bit. Then the Electrocuties were added as our 4th home team. Grace and Rampage on the line. Only Rampage's 2nd time with the star tonight.
Rampage fighting against Mazel Tov at the top of the pack. S.H. Long in there as well.
Little offensive move from Mike there, trying to clear a space for Rampage. But clearing a space when Long is involved is not an easy task.
Especially when she sets her jaw like that, Brad. Woo. I saw that. That was like, no, you're not moving me. No.
Grace recycled through the infield back behind Disco.
Rampage fighting once again against Long. Mike in there trying to offer some support.
Once again, we've gone over a minute without either of the jammers making it out of the pack.
Disco fighting against Mazel Tov, and of course she has a star in her hand. Though she is the first one out because this is a star pass, she does not have the ability to garner lead jammer status. Grace Wright declared lead and calls off the jam.
No points scored, keeping the point differential at 10. We've seen a lot more of these star passes to the pivot in the last year, and that is, I believe, in large part due to the fact that they've simplified the rules around passing the star. It's a lot more straightforward to just hand off that star pivot cover and not worry about the details so much.
Yep. Back in my day, you actually had to put the star on while you were in the pack. Not out of bounds, not in front or behind. But now, much easier. Tiny on the line against Angela Death, and Tiny out front, lead jammer. Shotgun Betties. Pew, pew.
20 minutes to go in the game. Angela breaks out. Low block called on Hellblazer.
Tiny crowded the infield. She picks up 4, calls off the jam.
Back into single-digit differentials with 94 to 88 on the scoreboard. 19 minutes to go.
Thank you so much to everyone who bought a cookie for our friend Rob Lobster. Thank you. Coco Killa on the line against Assault in Progress. Assault fighting against Disco. Speedavanti is taken out, but Disco's still up at the top. But Assault in Progress manages not to panic at the Disco and becomes lead jammer.
Coco was pushed out of turn 3 there, landed flat on her back. Seemed to think about it for a second, like, all right, I better get back up, and then she did. So that was actually called off with no points scored, and we remain at a 94 to 88 game at 18 minutes to go. Barrett to jam against Grace Riot.
Pack lined up at the jammer line, bobbing a little bit to our music.
And why not?
And why not? Barrett out in front. Lead jammer Cuties. Grace Riot out as well, ready to score. Betty's running away with the pack a little bit.
Team timeout being called by the Electrocuties. Stops the clock at 17 minutes and 25 seconds in the period. Reminded me that to emphasize that DRD has a men's team, apparently now called Ground Control, actively recruiting.
Ground Control, that's good. That'll sound good when you travel with them, Brad. You'll have to come up with some ground control thing.
We'll figure it out.
Maybe when you announce for them, you could be Major Tom.
Apparently, the Springfield Roller Girls from Springfield, Missouri were victorious over the Southern Illinois Roller Girls, 149 to 105. Right here, we got Tiny jamming for the Cuties. No, the Betties, the pink ones.
The pink ones.
Angela jamming for the Cuties and out for lead.
AD skating free. 5 points for the Cuties.
And 5 again.
Tiny forced to reset to behind the pack. 5 more points for Angela Death. AD through again, another 5 points. Tiny hands it off to Razor Cat. She's out and ready to score with Angela Death with another 4 points. AD calls it off, and Rampage heads to the penalty box on an illegal procedure, likely contact after the 4th whistle, which is a penalty.
So on the scoreboard after that jam, which has been the biggest jam of the game so far, we got 120 for the Electrocuties, 88 for the Shotgun Betties. 15 minutes to go with Coco Killa wearing the star for the Cuties.
She's skating against Assault in Progress, but Coco breaks free. Lead jammer Cuties. This is the Cuties' 3rd jam in a row. They've garnered that lead jammer status.
Indeed. This is also the biggest point spread in the game so far.
Razor sent to the outfield by Disco.
AD, lead jammer. Track cut called on Razor Cat. It's a power jam for Angela. Yes, no, I am incorrect. Razor Cat is still out there skating. Track cut must have been on somebody else.
That was on Mary Mary Quite Contrary, I believe.
Ah, thank you. Nevertheless, it was a Grand Slam pass for Angela.
Correct.
Followed by another one.
Razor Cat out, ready to score. Grace Wright being sent to the box, and we've got 4 more points for Angela Death. You'll have to forgive me and Brad, guys. We have very busy day jobs that have been keeping us late. I think my brain is, I don't know. I tried to put So You Think You Can Dance into my brain today. My first day in jammies until 2 since before Mayday Mayhem.
Oh my.
Yeah.
Rampage back to the jammer line against Tiny. This is Rampage's 3rd time with the star. Tiny's 11th time with the star tonight. Rampage's lead. She's 2 for 3.
Barrett being sent out for the out of play block.
Penalty box filling up here. Tiny gets out of the pack. Temporarily only 1 jammer on the track for the Betties, but here come a bunch of others to fill out the pack. So it was a weird circumstance resulting in a 0-point pass for Rampage.
Perhaps because all of the players were exiting to the box and out of play?
She didn't legally pass anyone, any single blocker.
Yes. 2 points for Tiny.
So, again, strange circumstance. Even though Rampage had lead, all the points in that jam were scored by the Betties. It is 94 to 136. Still a 42-point lead, though, for the Cuties with 11 minutes to go in the game. They give the star. Cuties give the star to Angela. Betties give the star to Salt.
AD makes it past Mazel Tov, lead jammer.
Angela, the leading point scorer in the game so far.
This means 6 lead calls in a row for the Cuties. Salt makes it past Blazer, out ready to score. Angela picks up 4 points and calls off the jam.
$140-94, 10.5 to go. Into the home stretch, a 46-point lead is not impossible for the Betties to overcome. Barrett taking the star for the Cuties and Grace Riot for the Betties. This is Barrett's 3rd time jamming, Grace's 11th.
And Barrett out in front, lead jammer Cuties.
Barrett has earned lead all 3 times she has jammed.
Cuties sending Rampage to the penalty box.
Barrett jamming defensively against Grace Riot, who has broken out of the pack. And as Grace gets past Barrett, Barrett calls it off. 145-94 at the 9-minute mark. Was that a team calling timeout? I believe it was.
To the Shotgun Betties. Hey, what are you doing 2 days before Bastille Day?
I don't know. When's Bastille Day?
Well, Bastille Day is July 14th, but on July 12th, you can join the Denver Roller Dolls at our 2nd annual fundraiser at Howl at the Moon. It's July 12th at 5 p.m. We'll have dueling piano music, dancing, and a silent auction, including a condo weekend getaway, movie tickets, a professional photography session, and more. So mark it down, 2 days before Bastille Day, July 12th at 5 p.m. See what I did there? I lodged it in their heads because everybody plans their time around Bastille Day in July.
No doubt. It's my 2nd most important holiday right after St. Swithin's Day.
Yes.
That was the end of timeout.
Tiny putting on the star against Angela Death.
Angela, the hardest working jammer so far in this game. This is her 16th time on the line. Although Tiny is in 2nd place with 12 jams.
AD out, she's lead jammer. Razor Cat sent to the box as Tiny breaks free.
Cuties go for the defense. Misconduct called on Charlie Foxtrot, but a forearm called on Blazer. So multiple penalties being called at once. 5 points picked up by Angela.
Racer coming out of the penalty box and taking the star from Tiny. Three points for her.
But 4 more for Angela, resulting in a score. Whoop, I missed a pass. It's 163-97.
Mike footing on the star for the Cuties up against Assault in Progress.
7 minutes to go in the game. 66-point lead at the moment. Well, there's been an adjustment on the scoreboard, adding 5 points to the Cuties. Making it a 71-point lead.
Salt making it free, and she garners lead jammer status for the Shotgun Betties. Salt breaking an 8-jam lead jammer streak for the Cuties. And Mike is going to sit in the box for a cut.
Salt called it off with 2 points, 99 points for the Betties, 6 minutes to go. They have a power start, though. They give the star to Grace Riot.
And Grace Riot breaks free, lead jammer Betties. And Grace is through. 5 points. Razor Cat headed to the box as Mike back in the fray. Grace picks up another 4 points.
And
168-108 with a little less than 5 on the game clock. That's a little less than 5 before you're going to head over to the Blake Street Tavern, located at 2301 Blake Street. Come join us for food, drinks, and fun.
Angela Death and Tiny on the jammer line. We've seen this matchup several times tonight.
And AD becomes lead jammer, but Tiny breaking free from the pack. And AD with a little skip on the turn, 4 points.
4 for Tiny on her scoring pass. Angela called for a back block, and it's a power jam for Tiny.
Tiny puts up 5 points.
Five again. To infinity, anyone.
Tiny looking for a rally.
She's got a good start. Brutalica called for blocking against the flow of traffic.
5 more points on the board for Tiny. Razor Cat being sent to the penalty box. Angela Death back in. And she picks up a track cut.
That extends the power jam for Tiny, who stays in on the inside line, grabs 5 more. 4 final points for Angela on that jam, resulting in 176 to 132. So the Betties close the gap by 16 points, but still have 44 to make up. And they got 2 minutes to do it in. Grace Riot has the star.
Grace Riot breaks free, lead jammer.
With a light pack by the Cuties, this is the circumstances that the Betties need. 5 points right there. Angela gets out. Grace picks up 4 and calls it off. Still a minute to go on the period clock. 176 to 141, a 35-point lead.
Oh, goodness. We've got Long putting on the star for the Shotgun Betties.
That's the first time tonight.
Up against Disco. Disco fighting against Rockscar. And Long breaks free. Lead jammer, Shotgun Betties.
The Disco chasing her down, and the jam is called off with no points scored. Still a 35-point differential, 176 to 141.
You're going to join us for food and drinks over at Blake Street Tavern, 2301 Blake Street. And then, of course, we will see you on Side Club and Bruising Altitude. Light this place up.
Our next home team doubleheader will be in July. Stay tuned for details on that. Watch our Facebook page, facebook.com/Denver Roller Dolls, or check out our formal webpage, denverrollerdolls.org. So that whistle stopped the timeout. As is traditional, some of the jammers thought it started the next jam. That's the one that does. Blazer jamming against Razorcat.
Razorcat fighting for it at the top of the pack. Blazer deciding to go for it. She's knocked to the outfield by Long and calls off the jam. And that, folks, is the end of the game.
So, 179 to 141, victory for the Electrocuties. That takes them to... And since the Bad Apples are also 1 and 2, it looks like the current ranking would be Crushers, Barrettes. Let's see if we can see Bad Apples versus... Congratulations to the Electrocuties and consolations to the Shotgun Betties. The teams are invited to designate MVPs.
Also, June 29th is the Mile High Club.